Coming up on Theater Talk.
So what did you miss? What did you miss? The lyrics go by so fast, you are in the abyss.
Theater Talk is made possible in part by the CUNY TV Foundation.
How does a whippersnapper, student of rap and a Latin, trapped in the middle of a Manhattan flat win Broadway accolades while other writers kiss the corporate dollar, grow up to be a hip-hop opera scholar? This blue-collar, shining beacon Puerto Rican got a lot farther by being a lot smarter, by stretching rhymes harder, by being a trend starter. By 14, they placed him in a school with a music charter.
From New York City, this is Theater Talk. I'm Susan Haskins.
And I'm Michael Riedel of the New York Post. Now, for the last year, we've had nothing but Hamilton this and Hamilton that. It's the greatest show in the world. It is ripe for skewering, and who better to skewer it than our guest, Gerard Alessandrini, who created Forbidden Broadway and has a new show, Spamilton, an American parody. Gerard, welcome to Theater Talk.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
And you brought your cast, too, so we're going to have a few numbers from your show coming up.
We are, yes, with choreography and all.
Now, so what was the inspiration to go after Hamilton? Were you, like me, just sort of tired of the hype and you thought the balloon needed to be punctured?
Well, yes, but also I was like, wow. I mean, I've been in New York working in theater for 35 years or so, and I've never seen a show that was that big of a hit.
Yeah.
So, and I guess social media had a lot to do with that, too. It becoming that big of a hit that fast. I thought, well, I mean, this is amazing, you know. And at first, when I first saw the piece, it appeared to me very dense and, you know, wonderful, but I thought...
you were a Hamilton fan. You are a Hamilton.
And more so as I listened to it and read the book, read the script, listened to it more and more, saw video things online, loved it when I first saw it, thought it blew my mind. But as I investigated it, I thought, well, this is very well done. And I am a history fan too, so I just loved the subject, and particularly that's one of my favorite eras is the American Revolution. So that helped. And, but you know, it was dense at first, but as I got to know it better, which is true of any great piece. If you study Shakespeare, you know, you have to sort of study it to enjoy it.
Yes, and Lin-Manuel Miranda will love that comparison. Now, I want you to set up the first number we're going to do, which really speaks to the density of the Hamilton.
Right, right. Well, it's dense, which can also be a very good excuse for comedy. Because
Exactly.
things are going by you too fast. So this is the number of, we have our actor, Nicholas Edwards, and he's portraying Davy Diggs, who's doing a double role as Lafayette and also as Thomas Jefferson, which there you are. It's already confusing.
So, for those of you who have seen Hamilton, for those of you who haven't, you'll love it. But if you've seen it, he's already been Lafayette, now it's Act Two. He's come back as Thomas Jefferson.
And he says, what do I miss? What did I miss?
Confused.
He's talking about politics, right? But we've translated it, updated to, what did you miss sitting in the audience with these lyrics going by you so fast?
If you're following us, it gets confusing even when we're status quo. But if you're mixed up and your head still spins, I can fill you in with my declaration, and I'll clarify this show, and I'll keep it slow and mellow till the denser part begins. Oh. So what did you miss? What did you miss? The lyrics go by so fast and you are in the abyss. I see you sitting there and looking befuddled. I guess my diction is sloppy and muddled. We're telling a complex plot, so what did you miss? Let me clarify this. Oh. There's a lady who's confused, who's the president? And if Hamilton has come on yet, honey, be a lamb, darling, concentrate a bit. What? Don't you follow? I'm the fellow in the cabinet who's gonna try to be the Secretary of State. Wait, the U.S. Capitol's gonna get moved. I won't explain it It's plain we're cutting out of New York.
Cutting out New York, cutting out New York.
Looking at the audience, I can't believe you follow me. Floating in space, the audience looks so blank in NYC. But no one admits they can't keep up with the pace. Some old guy reticent red in the face who grabs my arm and asks me, hey, what's going on?
What did I miss?
What did he miss?
What did I miss?
What did he miss?
I had to leave cause I had to go to a bris.
Oy vey, he went to a bris.
When I returned, I got lost in the prose.
Chicka-pow!
I must have nodded off and taken a dose. Son, I really need your help to get to the bottom of this.
What did you miss? What did you miss?
Yes! What did I miss?
Our rapid lyrics left the New York critics cheering, but they are awfully hard upon the hard of hearing.
What? What did I miss?
Tracking the plot.
What did I miss?
You missed a lot.
Can you believe you paid $800 for this?
So what did you miss?
But you see, like all the great parodies that you do, Gerard, you really get right to the essence of it. And the complaint I always heard about Hamilton was from older theater goers who said, I couldn't understand a thing they were saying.
Of course, yes. Well, I think Lynn is writing, he's writing for young people. I mean, that's why the country has embraced this.
Right.
And they talk a lot faster than older people. So,
But the Broadway audience still gets a lot of older people, especially at the prices for Hamilton. You're
That's
still
true,
getting the
that's true.
traditional older crowd that, you know, they love Richard Rodgers.
well, yeah, you got a good story. And you know, he's got such a huge palette of music to pick from. It isn't just rap. It's got, there's all sorts of music in there.
Now, has Lynn seen the show? Has he come?
Yes, he has. He came a couple
and
weeks
so
ago.
what was
he
his?
seemed to like it a lot. He was, you know, we saw him bobbing up and down laughing, and I think he was surprised that it was actually about him.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, my imagination of what it's about him. And he came with Tommy Kail, his
The director,
and Alex Lecomois, who did the musical arrangements and the vocal arrangements for Hamilton, which are terrific.
Mm-hmm.
So, and they stayed after the show for, at least an hour. Maybe an hour and
Did
a
he
half.
have notes? Did he give you notes?
Well, I said to him, I said, will you please give me, I like to get notes from everybody, you know. Yes, he sent me some notes.
Oh, that's
and we were sort of on the same page of what needed to be done.
What did he think needed
yeah,
to be done?
what did he say needed to?
Well, let's see.
He said, I had a hard time understanding all the lyrics.
Well, he said, actually, what this number we just saw, what I missed, he said he said, oh, I thought it was cute. And I thought, oh my God, cute is such a horrible word.
I hate that
and I hate that word. It doesn't mean anything. I mean, if an actor,
Well,
if I
it's
had an actor.
trivializing word.
Right, yeah, it is. What does it mean?
Yeah.
It
Patronizing.
doesn't, it exactly, it's patronizing. Yeah, if I give an actor a lyric to do and they say, oh, that's cute, I go, throw it out.
Yeah.
So I said, okay, this needs work. And I redid the lyric, and some of the good things of what you just saw are the result of him urging me on to.
He's got a sense of humor about himself. And
Oh, absolutely.
He must have a sense of humor about all the hype, too. So.
Right, you know. And then as I wrote it, I researched everything about him. He liked that. I think he was impressed with that.
Yeah.
There is not just Hamilton in this show. You have managed to integrate, you have a wonderful Sondheim
Yes.
portion, but it's all melded together.
Right.
And I'm also very happy to see that your longtime collaboratrice, Christine Petty, is in the show.
Yes.
In a
yes.
capacity I'm not going to divulge.
No, there's the surprise diva moments in
She's a little sprinkling of sugar we put in the show, but she's wonderful. She's such a great talent, wonderful girl. And but yes, in the I think when Lynn came to the show, he noticed that some numbers maybe needed to be moved, which I did and trimmed.
Really?
And I did a couple of those things. And we tried a couple of things. Some worked, some didn't. And we're polishing up the show. It's still polishing. It's open, but I'm still like tweaking a little lyrics.
So he wrote you notes and said, move this, move that. Lin-Manuel
Well, he didn't
Miranda.
say, he was very nice, but he didn't
Yeah.
say, do this, do that. He said, you might want to consider doing this and that.
Now, with the reviews that you got for the show, you got rave reviews. Are you going to have Hamilton ticket prices too for Spamilton?
Oh,
Are you
please, I hope not. No. And we have our own, lottery for 10 cents.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah,
Yes.
and I'm out
you have
there
the
every night, and
have
you
the
can win a 10-cent seat.
There's this wonderful lady who's doing your lottery,
Vicky,
and she
yes.
said to me, sometimes they don't have 10 cents and I just pay it.
One thing I thought was interesting when I interviewed you for the New York Post about this show, it'd been a long time since you'd had an edition of Forbidden Broadway.
Yes.
And it's because you were disappointed in what was going on Broadway.
Absolutely. I really think it was harder to do. You know, we talked about Forbidden Broadway, and it was very funny when there were a lot of shows around, but they just weren't coming in. And so many of them were jukebox musicals or so-so musicals that, you know, didn't cross over to the general public. It was just a different era. So I was so happy when Hamilton came along, because not only is it a critical hit, but the general public like knew the songs.
Exactly.
You know, so they knew the lyrics I was changing. So
Well, you did Forbidden Hollywood. You and Michael were talking about that. You did.
Oh,
a show,
years ago, Forbidden Hollywood, yes.
But now there are so many film adaptations coming in. You're
I
going
know.
to have Forbidden Hollywood meets
Forbidden
Forbidden
Broadway.
oh, that's a good idea.
We're going to have one more number from Spamalot, and it is the one where income.
It's not Spamalot, it's Spamilton.
We're going to have. Okay, now. Okay, we're going to have one more number from Spamilton.
Which is at the Triad Theater.
Yes, which is the Triad Theater. This one features the magnificent Schuyler Sisters. But before they perform, would you please say the name of the cast member?
Yes, and performing in Spamilton. We call it Spamalot. I just keep calling it Spamalot. By the way, why the title Spamilton, by the way?
One of the reasons is because of
Spamalot.
Spamalot.
Yes.
And spam is all over the place.
Because you get it. It's like
you
show
get it.
spoof, you know.
Precisely.
And spam is all, yeah. And then we actually use it in the show. Remember Lin-Manuel, he's looking, you know, I wanted to write a musical, a historical musical like Camelot, you know, Spamalot, you know, Spamilton, Hamilton, it's all good.
Do you ever eat spam?
Oh, yes, of course.
He looks like he likes it.
Well, when I was a young man,
Yes,
you know, for lunch, yeah.
Yeah, me too.
Well, they
Depression,
still
right?
sell it. As a matter of fact, I think
in
I'm
the
going to
Depression,
change.
right.
I'm going to change the 10-cent lottery to spam for spam. I am. If you bring a can of spam to the show, we'll let you have a seat.
Oh, that's
if you win the lottery.
That's good.
We're going to do it, right?
That's good.
Spam for spam.
All right, well, you don't want to miss Spamilton at the Triad. And its cast, who is here with us on Theater Week, Juwan Crawley,
Theater Talk.
Juwan Crawley, Chris Anthony Giles, Nicholas Edwards, Dan Rosales, and Nora Schell.
And the magnificent Fred
Barton on the
piano.
keyboards.
On keyboard, yes.
Keyboards.
Okay.
All right, and Gerard Alessandrini, thanks a lot for being our guest on
Thank you.
Do not miss
Spamilton.
The tourists love nothing more than hanging midtown to see the stars they adore. They hang outside the stage show and they gawk at the actors so exhausted they can't even talk. Come meet the Schuylers, their roles are loaded. Hi-ho, three sisters on the go, Renee Goldsberry, Philippa Sue, and Jasmine. Sneak into the other shows and laugh at every has-been.
Renee Elise,
Twerk, twerk.
Philippa Sue, and
Twerk,
Jasmine.
twerk. The Schuyler puppets.
Renee Elise, Jasmine, Philippa.
Twerk.
Disney says musicals should dumb down. Disney wants all family shows. Disney gave Hamilton a thumbs down. We'll be here while their shows close. But look around at all the new shows happening in New York. We said New York. Yuck. It's bad enough Disney built the Disney store. Souvenir shops everywhere. It's bad enough British shows invade our shore. British pop pollutes the air. Look around, Renee. Remind me what we're looking for.
She's looking for me.
Philippa, I'm looking for some entertainment. I'm looking for some entertainment. I'm looking for some entertainment. Whoa, whoa, yo, yo.
Now, Susan, you and I are big fans of Noël Coward, and there was a musical Noël Coward wrote in 1949 called Hoi Polloi that has never been produced until now. It is going to be done at Musicals Tonight, beginning November 1st for 2 weeks, the world premiere of Noël Coward's Hoi Polloi. And here to tell us about it is the man who knows all things about Noël Coward, our good friend Barry Day, who is the author of several Coward books, including the great Collected Letters.
And who has adapted Hoi Polloi.
And who's adapted Hoi Polloi, too. You're looking after Coward shows. Welcome back to Theater Talk.
Thank you.
So what is Hoi Polloi about, and how come it never got on in Coward's lifetime?
Well, I think you need to remember what the war was like for England, and what happened afterwards was a seismic event. Society changed totally.
Mm-hmm.
As soon as the war in Europe was over, there was an election, and we kicked out Churchill.
Yeah, right.
Who'd won it
Right.
pretty well.
Yeah.
And then it was Labour Party, austerity, and we don't want any of that old 1930s rubbish. And society has changed. We are in charge now.
Angry young man days.
Before the angry young men,
Right.
but ready to do it or die, because it's our turn now. And anything to do with the 30s and before is old-fashioned and irrelevant.
Anything frivolous.
Almost anything, all social values, you know, we are in charge.
It's so remarkable that here Churchill saved Western civilization. And granted, he was an old man, but he was out right
Is
there.
that before the war evening?
That's right.
So you see, Hoi Polloi means the masses,
Right.
the people.
Ah,
Coward was always somebody who wanted to represent the people, because people think of him as upper class. He comes from a lower middle class, upper working class background, and those are his people. He wrote about them in Cavalcade, if you remember.
Yeah, sure.
The upstairs, downstairs people. And he wrote about them in This Happy Breed. And that was all about a family like the one he grew up in.
Yeah.
In the time between the end of the First World War and the beginning of the Second. In fact, he wrote it in 39.
Right, right.
Okay, then the war, and the thing was not produced for 3 years because theaters were closing and
Yeah.
chaos.
Yeah.
Other things had to take precedent.
Bombs were falling.
Bombs were falling, yeah. And then when he comes to do it, he really thinks he should go back to his origins. He always used to say, you must never, never forget your origins. And he never did. They were the Cockney Sparrows, they were his people. So he writes this thing. But by this time, everything of Coward is out of date, according to the critics. He had a review that didn't do much, Sign No More. He had a musical at Drury Lane, Pacific 1860, which didn't do much. It wasn't particularly good. So they were criticizing him, and he always said, no, it doesn't matter. I rise above it, but not entirely. It did get to him. So he wrote this play, which is about the Cockneys after the war. London is bombed. They were in Stepney, debris everywhere. There's a number called We've Got the Country at the Bottom of the Street, because it's been bombed. You know? So, but they're getting on with it. You know, this is the whole thing. The Londoners, well, the Brits. Yeah, we had a bit of a problem with Hitler, but you know, we're back to normal now. And all of this was what Coward was trying to represent. But the producers at that time, who a few years earlier would have been fighting each other to put on a Coward play exactly as he wrote it. And I was saying, well, I wonder about, is that good? Couldn't we? And he put it aside. He thought, I've got to be more relevant. And more relevant means more modern. So he took much of it and turned it into Ace of Clubs. So the basic plot line is a sailor on 24-hour leave, meets a girl, gets to know her family, they go around London, they stand outside Buckingham Palace on an investiture day and meet people there. They go for a row in the boat in a lake. They go to a party, upscale party, where friends that they've just met invite them. So that's really what happens, which isn't a great deal, but the people matter. Now, when he put the thing aside, then when he did the next thing, Ace of Clubs, it's about a seedy nightclub with English gangsters. Now, what the hell did Noël Coward know about a nightclub and English gangsters? It wasn't a big success, Pat Kirkwood, Ace of Clubs. And then a few years later, a couple of years later, he goes to New York and he sees a play which does what he didn't do, Guys and Dolls.
Interesting. Interesting. And Hoi Polloi fell by the wayside. Did he pillage the score, though, and use songs? What are some of the songs from it?
He's always inclined to do that. Now, he did 2 versions of it, and I've kind of combined the 2. The second one, I think, is stronger at the end of it, particularly because it's really talking about what life is like now and how we've got to hang in there and build again and not lose our nerve because we're British. You know, flagrant Englishness.
Right.
But that's what he was.
But also
he was
very
a patriot.
Kind of relevant, though, for a world where we live with the threat of terrorism every day. Got to hang in there and get on with life.
Well, yeah, that's all you can do. You know? Life is tough. We all know that. We just been through one of those things, but we saw him off, didn't we? Hitler chap, and Musso, what was his name? Can't remember. Foreign fella. So now we're back to normal, and that's life. And you're lucky to have it. You know?
Interesting. After he saw Guys and Dolls, did he have a comeback with something? I mean, did he get himself to be a modern playwright?
Not particularly, no. I don't think he had that particular streak in him. He'd been modern at different points in his career. Immediately after the war, he wrote a thing called Peace in Our Time. Did you ever hear of that?
No, I don't know that.
Well, it's vaguely like a story by Saki. You start in a London pub again, and the landlord and his wife are chatting through the regulars and so on. And then they say, they'll be on the news again soon, won't they? And then we can, and people are thinking, well, what are they talking about? And then you hear the news on the radio, and the Queen is having lunch with Hitler, Goebbels, Mussolini, because they won the war. Oh. And they've occupied England. Huh. They said it's the most dramatic play I ever wrote. But putting on it like 1947, we'd had a little bit enough of all of that.
Goebbels
and it could easily have happened. You know?
Right, sure.
20 miles of water between Germany and German Europe and England. The wonder is he never did it. He could have done it. There's nothing we could have done about it. Well, of course, in the play, England is England and gets together and beats the out of them and gets rid of them, and will do. You know? They're never going to give up. And that's the point he was trying to make. So this man was really a patriot.
Yeah.
You know, I felt it emotionally, very deeply. The fact he didn't show it, but could express it in songs and so on. And in Hoi Polloi, there's some quite interesting songs, very charming little love songs about evening in summer, looking out over the debris at the river and the things that haven't changed. You know? So there's always hope and always hope. We'd always win in the end.
Yeah.
You know.
We're
But
not
ironically, we always talk about the Dunkirk spirit as being a wonderful thing. Indeed, it was. But we lost. It was an incredible defeat.
Dunkirk, yeah.
Yes, but my God, when you read about it, it doesn't seem like a defeat at all.
No, I know.
No.
Well, when Noel met Roosevelt, and Roosevelt said after Dunkirk, "What do you think? Is it going to be okay?" Well, he said, "I'm absolutely convinced, sir, against all logic, that we shall prevail."
Oh my God, that they got everybody to get their boats, big and small, and go rescue the British soldiers?
Yeah, they did.
Amazing.
Yeah. They lost a lot, but they got a lot
Oh,
back.
they got a lot.
They did lose a lot.
Yeah, but you
Roosevelt-
saw the British spirit.
Yeah, but Roosevelt felt through that.
Huh.
If this man says this against all the odds that the outside are saying, maybe there's something there.
Yeah.
And he was very pro.
Yes.
His cabinet were not. And
Right.
he had Kennedy's father to worry about and lots of big problems.
Well, Kennedy's father was sort of a Nazi, wasn't
Totally.
he? Yes.
Yeah.
Well, then Churchill, though, resisted, of course. A number of people thought they should have an armistice with Germany.
Yeah. And I dare say they thought about it and talked about it between themselves, and then in the end, not.
And Coward would never have supported that.
He wouldn't.
No.
But you see, the thing was, because I was brought up during the war,
Yeah.
and the feeling you had, I was in a town in the Midlands that was also heavily bombed. Everybody in England is private. You live in your little house, which is about that big, one of 100, maybe each side of a main road, and you stay in there. It's your castle. You whiten the step, you keep the curtains closed, you say good morning to the neighbour, but you don't chat. Now, during the war, all the doors were open. On the evening of VE Day, we all went out with chairs and tables and what little bit of ration food we had, up and down this mile-long road, both sides, and everybody was friendly. The next morning, back in the house,
Back.
the door.
Curtains drawn.
That's the English for you. Yeah.
But
We're private.
Yeah.
We keep ourselves to ourselves.
didn't Churchill have a great deal to do with creating that open spirit among the Brits?
Oh, yeah, sure. He went everywhere. Churchill would walk around over the rubble with his big cigar and talk to people. See, after Chamberlain, who was as weak as hell
Yes.
and died within a year,
Yeah.
out of shame, I think,
I think.
Churchill represented the bulldog spirit, and he was a great orator.
Right.
Yeah? Well, if you think of politicians now and then, the ones who can move you are the ones that you tend to follow because they've got the words to express the feelings that you have but can't express.
Yes.
And he was great at that, and so was Coward.
Yes.
I mean, Coward was a great thing during the war on radio, you know, troop concerts. He could find the words London Pride, which I got into the show, which wasn't in the
Great.
show
Hoi
originally.
Polloi, yeah.
Because he was sitting at London Station one morning after a bad blitz. There's rubble on the floor, smoke in the air, and he looked down and saw the Londoners around him carrying on as if nothing had happened. They weren't going to be bothered with it. Yeah, that building used to be there. Oh, yes, it was. Oh, well, yeah, well, we've got work to do. And then he sees a little flower growing in a crack in the concrete, and he remembers the name. It's called, in common parlance, London Pride. And he said, London Pride has been handed down to us, writes the song. I mean, that is a song that somebody who isn't an emotional person couldn't have written.
Right.
You look at it, you say, oh, God, I remember, how corny. But no, it was a national anthem.
Absolutely, for that time.
Yeah.
All right, who's in Hoi Polloi? Who's your cast?
I have no idea. Mel Miller is doing it now in utter secrecy and will reveal all.
Oh, okay, we don't know. All right.
We'll find out November 1st.
November 1st, Noël Coward's unproduced until now, Hoi Polloi, a musical from 1949 that has some great Coward songs in it.
A love story for London, it's called.
Hoi Polloi, a love story for London. Adapted, I guess we can say, by Barry Day. Written,
Adapted, yeah.
pulled together from two.
Pulled together from two series, yeah.
Okay. It's at musicals tonight beginning November 1st for 2 weeks. Don't miss it. Barry, thanks for being our guest tonight on Theatre Talk.
Let's see.
Our thanks to the Friends of Theatre Talk for their significant contribution to this production. Theatre Talk is made possible in part by the Frederick Lowe Foundation, the CORY and Bob Donnelly Charitable Fund, the Noël Coward Foundation, Carrie J. FREEZE, the Dorothy Strelson Foundation, and the New York City Department of Cultural Affairs.
We welcome your questions or comments for Theatre Talk. Thank you.